Welcome to Elizabeth's Chronicles. If you love true crime, consider subscribing. Anthony Paul and his wife Melanie emigrated from Sri Lanka in 1970. Both Anthony and Melanie studied medicine in England in 1971. He began his internship, then residency in internal medicine, at the Coney Island Hospital Division of Maimonides Medical Center in Brooklyn. Melanie served her residency in pediatric psychiatry, at Albert Einstein Medical Center in Philadelphia, from 1974 to 1977. She then began working at St. Christopher's Hospital for Children. The couple had two children, 17-year-old Medhini Paul, and 12-year-old Anthony Rajiva Paul. Dr. Anthony Paul and his family lived in the wealthy section of Chestnut Hill in Philadelphia. Medhini, their daughter, was born with a severe brain injury. She attended a special needs school her entire life. She has the mentality of a 1-year-old. She also has a severe asthmatic condition that requires medicines numerous times throughout the day and night. The couple's son, Anthony Rajiva Paul, was known as a gifted child with a bright future. He was extremely intelligent. Dr. Paul's wife, Melanie, had suffered from incredible pain over the past 5 years due to debilitating arthritis of her spine, which led to nerve compression. She became physically dependent on prescription pain medicine. Dr. Paul continuously prescribed and gave the medication to his wife, due to the pain, knowing she was dependent. In the recent months she had attempted suicide, and would sometimes go several days with no sleep. Her severe pain was quickly becoming unmanageable. For nearly 20 years Dr. Anthony R. Paul worked with cancer patients. He worked at the Fox Chase Cancer Center. He was well known in the community and a highly esteemed physician. After work on a Monday night, in July of 1990, Dr. Paul told the receptionist that he was feeling a bit ill. He told her to tell his assistant he left an envelope in his desk for her. He made sure that she knew not to give the message until the next day. The large envelope contained a 3-page suicide note, and a significant amount of cash. He did not say what the cash was meant for. He left around 4 p.m., Dr. Paul drove home, and set up 4 bags in the master bedroom. He sedated his family, and attached 4 fluid bags to a picture frame. Slowly poison was intravenously dripped into all 4 of his family members until they slowly passed away. He placed a copy of the same suicide note beside him. Then he attached the IV drip to his own arm, and slowly passed away with his family. In the suicide note Dr. Paul wrote, "I cannot go on with the present situation. There's only one solution. It must end with my death. Unfortunately, I cannot leave my wife and children to suffer at the hands of the state. So they must join me too. As in life, in death we will be together." He went on to discuss his wife's arthritis, and terrible pain from that. And how she became addicted to pain medication. He also described the medications his daughter was on and her severe mental condition. He explained how he could not leave his son alone to live in foster care, unloved, and become a misfit of society. He described that this is a suicide pact with 3 unsuspecting victims and the fault lies solely on him alone. He said, "I have no regrets. I have lived a good life, I have hurt nobody, I have loved my wife and children to the point that I was willing to sacrifice my career, and my life for them." Dr. Paul made copies of his letter, and had given one to his closest friend, left a copy at his office, and left a copy near his body. The copy at his office in Fox Chase Cancer Center was found on Tuesday morning. Officials there called the authorities. Authorities went to Dr. Paul's residence and made entry into the 7-bedroom home. They had to break down the door to get in. They found the bodies, all dressed in night clothes. His 2 children were found in a mattress laying in the floor of the master bedroom. Dr. Anthony Paul and his wife were found on their bed, side by side. Police say there was no signs of any struggle. Police said the deaths occurred sometime after 7 p.m. Monday, sometime after Dr. Paul arrived home from work. This was one of those issues of human existence that those of us who are left don't really understand, said Dr. Robert Commis, Vice President for Medical Science at the Cancer Center. He said Paul's wife was often sick and his daughter was non-functional for her whole life. The son was apparently a very bright child. That's the great tragedy in addition to the whole thing, he said. The issue of the boy is something that I personally can't reconcile, but it's done. Dr. Sandor Friedman was the Director of Medical Services at Coney Island Hospital, and the supervisor of Dr. Paul's residency, said Dr. Paul is a very stable person. We're absolutely in shock about this, he said, it's not the Anthony Paul we knew. Colleagues at Fox Chase that worked closely with Dr. Paul stated they believe he lived a very stressful life, but he never sought help or shared his problems. Tony was a quiet guy who kept things to himself, said Robert F. Ozzles, chairman of the medical oncology department at Fox Chase, and Dr. Paul's supervisor. I had him and his wife over for dinner once last year, he continued. He mentioned how he took care of his mentally disabled daughter, a real big girl, bathing her and dressing her and everything. I was overwhelmed that he was dealing with that burden all by himself. But he had that stiff upper lip, British training, you play the cards dealt to you, you don't complain, you don't whine. He went on to say that Dr. Paul only had 2 concerns in life, work and his family. He never let on that he was burned out or anything. He was always upbeat with his patients. Another colleague, Joan Herman, Director of Social Work at the hospital, said that Dr. Paul worked very hard to build hope in his cancer patients, but what he did yesterday is the opposite of that philosophy on every level. Colleagues also recalled how even on the very last day of his life he was making plans for new research for cancer patients, which was a direct contradiction to killing his family. Mizak Damas was born in Haiti on July 2 in 1976. His childhood was plagued with poverty and abuse. His mother and father were evangelical Christians who raised him until he was 10 years old. They left him in Haiti with relatives, and moved to the United States. The relatives he was left with were deep into Haitian voodoo. When Damas turned 19, he moved to the United States. Galine Dieu also immigrated from Haiti to the United States when she was a teenager, after her father was murdered in their home back in Haiti. She finished high school in the United States, then began working at Publix supermarket. In 1997, Mizak and Galine married. The couple went on to have 5 children, Mizak, 9 years old, Marvin, 6 years old, Maven, 5 years old, Megan, 3 years old, and Morgan, 11 months old. The family lived in Naples, Florida. Mizak worked as a chef, while Galine was still working at Publix supermarket. Over the years, Mizak was physically abusive to Galine. In one incident, he hit her, then choked her while she was holding her youngest child, causing the baby to slip out of her arms and hit the floor. Mizak was arrested, and charged with misdemeanor battery. After the children were interviewed by DCF, 9-year-old Mizak said he would gather all the children, and take them into a bedroom when their father was abusing their mother. If he attempted to call 911, his father would hit him. The couple separated for 2 months after the arrest. Galine started in counseling at a shelter for abused women. It was noted in her file that she was overwhelmed with the concept of raising 5 children alone. She began trying to have the restraining order removed. Records show that she believed that a father should be able to be with his children, and she had faith in her husband that he would not repeat the violence. Mizak pled no contest to battery and was given 12 months of probation, and ordered to take parenting classes and to go to a battery intervention program. Not long after completing the program, he moved back in with Galeen and the children. On September 16 in 2009, Galeen brought up the topic of divorce. The conversation escalated to an argument, and Damas became very angry. He told his wife, "Divorce me. I'll kill you." The next day, Galeen had to be at work early. So she left the home around 4:30 a.m. Damas followed her to work, to make sure she was actually going to work. When Galeen got out of her car for work, and noticed him behind her, the couple began arguing again. Galeen went on into work, and Damas went to work. After getting off work, he went to a local supermarket where he purchased a Berkeley fillet knife, some duct tape, and some chewing gum. When he arrived home from work, Galeen did not speak a word to him. The only time she spoke to him was to have him sign some immigration papers, and then she told him she planned on leaving him. This enraged Damas. He grabbed her, tied her with a rope, and put duct tape over her mouth. He beat Galeen, stabbed her, then cut her throat. He made his way upstairs where he methodically cut the throats of each of his children as they lay asleep in their own beds. He stayed in the family home until 7 a.m. the next morning. He packed some clothes into a suitcase, and headed to Miami National Airport, and purchased a one-way flight to Haiti. On September 19 of 2009, authorities were notified by Galeen's family to do a welfare check since they had not heard from her for a few days, and she had not shown up for work. At 7:03 p.m. that evening, police made entry into the home. They first noticed blood pooling in front of the closed door. Police discovered the bodies of Galeen Dieu, age 32, and her 5 children, ranging in ages from 19 months to 9 years, were found in their North Naples townhouse, stabbed and slashed across the necks. Mizak Damas, age 33, had a history of domestic violence, so he was immediately a suspect. On September 22, 2009, a Collier County judge signed a warrant for the arrest of Mizak Damas for the 6 counts of murder. Collier County Sheriff Kevin Rambos called the killings the most horrific and violent event in the community's history. The next day, Damas was arrested by United States Marshal agents in Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Mr. Damas, anything you want to say?
Yes. I want to be buried with my family. That's what I want to do.
Did you kill them?
Yes, I did.
Why?
Only God knows.
You don't know? What happened, Mr. Damas?
I'm going to take my picture. Just wait, please. Back. Okay. Can I walk away to you?
Mr. Damas, do you want to be sentenced to death or do you want life in prison?
I want death right away because I think my family probably buried this Saturday coming up. I want the jury to give me death right now that I can bury with them at the same time.
Why? Why did you do it? What possessed you to do it?
Her mom pretty much made me do it.
Why? In what way?
Her mom, the devil, her mom's spirit, whatever she's serving, whatever she's worshiping.
Why in such a brutal way? Why children? Your children. What did they do?
They don't do nothing. They're innocent. Everybody's innocent.
Then why? Why would you kill them if they're innocent?
It's the devil. Devil exists. You believe in Jesus Christ? Do you believe in Jesus?
Do you believe in Jesus Christ?
Do you believe in Jesus?
Do you believe in the devil?
I believe in Jesus Christ. When I did it, my eyes was closed. Now right now my eyes are open.
Are you going to go to heaven when you die?
Right now, yeah. Right now. But if I kill myself, I was going to kill myself. But I didn't have the courage to do it. Because if you kill yourself, you're not going to heaven.
When were you going to kill yourself?
The same time that happened. You know? But I didn't have the time. I didn't have the courage to do it myself.
So why'd you come back?
Come back where? To Haiti. To sit back to my country. I'm the one who was going to turn myself in. Just let you know.
He also provided a lengthy statement to agents in Haiti, saying, "I know what I did was wrong. Bad spirits made me do it. You think I want to live after what I did?" Damas was extradited back to the United States to stand trial for the murder of his wife and 5 children. No bond was set due to the nature of his crimes. While in jail awaiting trial, he refused to shower or eat. Over time, the smell was so bad it was making other inmates sick. Damas also claimed his name was no longer Damas but Cog, meaning child of God. He spent 56 days at a mental hospital for evaluation, and 3 court appointment experts evaluated Damas. He was found competent to stand trial. The evaluation notes stated, Damas was aggressive, manipulative, and deceitful, and would engage in cooperative behavior when necessary to get something he wanted, as well as describing Damas as grandiose, preoccupied with his own self-worth, entitled, and wants to be admired by others, lacks empathy, and arrogant. Reports further state that Damas has the ability to engage in appropriate behavior, and his refusal to do so at times is a volitional choice, and not a symptom of mental illness. Damas was known for having wild court appearances, from singing really loudly in court, to stuffing paper towels in his ears to keep from hearing the trial details. Most of the time, he had to be rolled into court, restrained in a chair, surrounded by several deputies due to his aggressive behavior. During most of the trial, he would lay his head on the desk, and sleep through the entire proceedings. At one point during trial, he stood up, and stated in court that he wanted to dismiss all his attorneys and represent himself. However, during a later hearing to determine if he could adequately defend himself, he began rambling, and being uncooperative. Religion and voodoo expert, Dr. Elizabeth McAllister, testified that Damas felt compelled by the devil to kill his family. She said that Damas felt that he had left the door open to the devil. Mackenzie Deer, Ghislaine's brother, also testified. He called on the judge to honor his sister and her children in a way that does justice. He also said, "When I think of the impact that the kids would have done in my life, in our community, I feel a sense of emptiness," Deer said. "A sadness that is deep in my soul." After 8 years of Damas causing court delays due to his antics, Collier County Circuit Judge Christine Grider resided over the sentence hearing where he was finally sentenced to death on October 27, 2017. This sentence was upheld by the Supreme Court in 2019. He is currently on death row at the Florida's Department of Corrections where he will remain until his execution date is set. Over 1,500 people were in attendance at the family's funeral. People flew in from Haiti to bid farewell. Both sides of the family showed up at the funeral. At the burial site, family and friends sang hymns together, then the family released doves. Dr. Anthony Paul was a well-respected physician, who became overwhelmed with taking care of his wife's debilitating arthritis, that led to her abusing pain medication, as well as his mentally disabled daughter. Instead of hiring someone to come into his home and help, which he clearly could afford, he decided murder was the best option. In one night he went from being a wonderful human being to an evil monster. Mizak Damas was an evil narcissist who abused his wife and children. When his wife decided enough was enough, instead of being a man, and taking a long look in the mirror, to realize he brought this on himself, he chose murder. He was a narcissist who wanted things his way or no way. Hopefully his date of execution comes swiftly. That concludes this episode. Keep your eye out for the next volume, coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.